Hello. Oh, whoops. Welcome to the Poncho. Every time I say Poncho, it makes me think of Poncho. Anyway, how are you guys doing today? Hoping Harry pops on because I would like to have Harry's feedback on Trump's kind of humiliating display in front of NATO today. I always find it interesting when he steps outside of his little bubble where, like he's usually surrounded by narcissists or by sycophants that just suck up to his narcissism, right? So he could say, that the clouds are made out of cotton candy, and they would just sit there and rave about how nobody else had the courage to talk about how clouds were really made out of cotton candy, and the liberal media won't tell you that, and they'll just go on with all kinds of nonsense. But when he's in front of the European media, where he has no authority, when he's in front of, people to whom he can't threaten, then it's like they get, I wouldn't say they're like rude and call him a liar and stuff, but they'll sit there and they'll just look at him with this kind of, what is he talking about expression on their face. And it's kind of funny because, like they'll like look at him like they have no idea what he is referring to. He's just so out there. And so then he'll explain more and more his nonsense, which makes it more and more nonsensical. So anyway, there was a lot of that going on today. And one of the sort of surprise announcements that came was that he is lifting the sanctions on Turkey and Erdogan after he met with Erdogan. And if you are like me and do not follow why we have sanctions on every country in the world, or, track what we have sanctions for, I'm like, why did we have sanctions on Turkey? Is it unreasonable? Is it reasonable that we had them? And so I went and looked it up, and apparently there is we sell Turkey our F-35s, and the F-35, the F-35s are a plane. Russia has this kind of anti-air defense system. Just want to make sure. It's called the Russian S-400 system, which is a kind of a radar anti-aircraft defense system that's designed by Russians. All right, and then so they buy their air defense system from Russia, and then they buy their airplanes from the U.S. And the concern is that if they use the F-35s to train the S-400 system, then Russia could kind of backdoor that information and get get classified information on how they can counter our F-35s. So it's a legitimate, very real security threat. And so we had sanctions on them as long as they're buying this defense system from Russia. And it's like, not that even Turkey has to be complicit, but as, if there's an update or something, Russia could, backdoor their way into it and manipulate the system. And we have no control over what happens with all of that. And so it becomes a security threat to the United States of America. And the president of the United States is just sitting there going, well, what's the big deal? Why shouldn't they be able to defend themselves? Well, that's not how he talks. I can't do a Trump. I'm not good at impersonations. Anyway, I apologize for even trying. But that's like a real concern. Like, yeah, we don't want Russia to have classified information on how our planes can be shot down. So there's that whole thing. That was like a side embarrassment. It wasn't even like the main platter of embarrassment. This was just like the croutons on the salad of a humiliating America once again. He also brought up Greenland again. And he treats Greenland. You are impersonating his IQ. He is. I mean, I don't mean, I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm trying to be objective when I say he is a legitimately stupid person. Like, we always look at him and we're like, oh, it's like playing chess with a pigeon. He, right when you're going to win, he comes and knocks off all the pieces and poops on the board. And then but what makes it worse is you've got people trying to analyze the chess game of the pigeon by where it pooped on the board. Well, so he pooped right here where the queen goes. So that makes it so that you can't even set up a new board without having to put your queen in poop. Like somehow that was what his real objective was. They try to, what's the word? Reverse engineer some sort of brilliant chess move out of the bird pooping on the chessboard. So Alan Dershowitz said the Democrats are coming close to what the socialists said in 1930, to what socialists said in 1932, Germany and Stalin's Russia. The party has already been blown up. I'm not sure what that means. So you're saying Alan Dershowitz said that. I have no idea what Alan Dershowitz is talking about. Alan Dershowitz has just gone full Trump ever since the Epstein files became a thing. I wonder why. It wouldn't be that he's in it, right? It wouldn't be that he doesn't want to get exposed for raping little girls, paying Jeffrey Epstein for the opportunity. So I don't know what he's rambling on about. Anyway, so back to Trump and his current insanity. He brought up Greenland again, and it's like he thinks of Greenland like he thinks of women. It doesn't matter what they say. He won't take no for an answer, and he will force himself on them whether they like it or not. I mean, he wants to treat Greenland like E. Jean Carroll. And like, Greenland is clear. They don't want it. And he's like, well, Denmark's not even giving them enough money. And like, he's sticking up for Greenland or something. And Greenland's like, no, dude, you've got bad breath. Stay away from us. We don't want you. No means no, Donald. So he brought that up again. We thought he was over that, but now he's all mad that NATO didn't come in and like participate in our murdering children in Iran. And so because Europe didn't want to participate in that, he's like, oh, what about Article 5? Which, of course, I don't even know if he can spell Article 5. I don't even know if he can write the numeral 5. Anyway, so he's all upset about Article 5, which doesn't say that. He says, NATO's not even pulling their weight. And the only time Article 5 has ever been invoked was after 9/11, when the rest of NATO helped us. You know who's never helped another country using Article 5? Only nation in NATO that has never helped another country using Article 5 is the United States. Because the only time it's been employed was when the United States needed help. But there was this other complaint he has, which is like 10% valid, is that the different nations in NATO have set goals going back decades of how much money they will commit to defense spending. So I think that goal was 2%. Right now, I mean, but now since Russia invaded Ukraine, they've actually stepped up and they're spending more money. They're up right now. They're spending 2.5% of their defense budget on average. The average nation in NATO right now spends 2.5% of its budget on NATO. The agreement is for 2%. So right now, the average nation in NATO, if you take out the United States, actually spends more money than they are committed to spending. He doesn't seem to know that. There's a lot of things Donald Trump doesn't seem to know. That doesn't keep him from talking about things, but he doesn't, he doesn't know them. So he's throwing that hissy fit again, and on the, and he's bringing up Article 5 and Iran, and then he's doing this kind of double talk where he's talking about one, well, I didn't need their help, but they didn't give us help. I just wanted them to offer it. Or it's like, yeah. This is Donald Trump is the type of guy that will get dumped by somebody, and then he'll try to break up with them after he's already been broken up with. You can't break up with me. I already broke up with you. And it's like, okay, whatever, Donald. Just please go away. Don't rape me anymore. Anyway, his first wife he raped. At least that she accused him of rape. Anyway, so he's like over there. He's treating everybody else like they're the incompetent ones, while he's rambling on incoherently about what he doesn't know anything about. It's just an embarrassment to like everybody that's not a complete idiot. So that's frustrating. So we can talk about that today. So if you want to talk about that, go ahead, drop a comment. The other thing that is a hot issue right now is the Platner. There's new accusations by a new woman. There are actually two women. I don't recall their names right now. I looked it up before and I can't remember what they are. But anyway, there was a first woman that had made some accusations against Platner that they were a little bit suspect because she happened to have written speeches for Susan Collins and worked with the Federalists. Like she was a conservative activist. So it sounded like, Al Franken vibes here, where, like a conservative woman that all of a sudden has all these things to say about a viable Democrat. And that doesn't mean she's lying automatically, right? But she was, of all the women that had come forward, that had been interviewed, there were 6 women that somebody had interviewed. 3 said that he was fine. 2 said that, he was kind of toxic, but that he had never touched them. The last one accused him of physical abuse and blocking her from leaving a room. And this is the one that was a speechwriter for Susan Collins. And so it was like the other 5 not corroborating that, the lack of any real-time corroboration from anybody else. It was like all of a sudden she remembered this after he wins the nomination or something, or after he's running. So it was just a little suspect. And then there was the issue with the whole Nazi tattoo, but I mean, I did not know that was a Nazi symbol, and I know that, people are like, how can you not know it's a Nazi symbol? And it's because I don't like pay attention to Nazi symbols. I never went and studied Nazi symbols. If you were to just randomly point it out to me before I learned what it was, I would have thought it was like the logo for a heavy metal band or something. And I guess like Metallica or somebody like, actually there's a band that the lead singer wears a headband with that logo on it. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. He got the tattoo, didn't know that it was according to him, didn't know it was a Nazi symbol, got it tattooed over, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. There were some other things that were questionable. But now this new woman, this adds a whole other layer, because this woman is very credible. This woman is not, doesn't work for Susan Collins, and has, contemporaneous accounts for where she told friends and stuff what happened. And so this is new information. I have some people saying, well, why didn't you believe her? And it's like, I was suspicious then for the same reason. I was suspicious because the woman worked for Susan Collins, his political opponent. Like, that's a reasonable thing to ask. Like, gee, is it impossible that somebody's political opponent can make up stuff to win her election? But these new allegations, they're new, they're credible, and there's contemporaneous accounts of it. So I think he should step down. I don't know how you go about replacing him. I hate this. The Republicans would just, there was Kevin McCarthy was disgustingly talking about how Republicans would just denounce him and, remove him from the ballot, and that would be it. And we departed with Matt Gaetz. Dude, you knew about Matt Gaetz. Oh, like it took 2 years for him to step down. And then it was only because he was going to get nominated for Attorney General. So you can just sit on your hands, Kevin. And oh yeah, what about that? There's this other guy. I think his name is Donald Trump, who like literally bragged about sexually assaulting women, and then you voted him for president not once but twice. He has like only like 25, 30 allegations against him. You voted for him once after he was found liable for sexual assault by a jury. So don't sit there and get all high and mighty and talk about how you're so credible because you get rid of the perverts out of your office. Not when the literal current administration is protecting Jeffrey Epstein's best and brightest. So we got Montauk says, what do you think of Nancy Pelosi? I think she is probably the best, the most effective Speaker of the House in my lifetime. Well, obviously you're not the type, you don't agree with her, but she was effective. She didn't go and endorse rapists and then defend the party for making sure that rapists get put in their place. Oh yeah, that's right. The BS Russian collusion thing, dude. Russia interfered in the 2016 election. This is one of the things that gets really frustrating with MAGAs, is that there is an objective reality. There are things that really happened, right? Russia did interfere with the U.S. elections. This is a Republican Senate said that, right? The whole Russian collusion thing, the words Russian collusion were made popular by Donald Trump. The investigation into Russia was initiated, with not the special. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, this. Why can't I think of his name? The guy that died recently. Anyway, that investigation was appointed by his attorney general, right? The Democrats didn't investigate Russia. His own attorney general appointed a special prosecutor, Mueller. That's who I'm trying to think of. The Mueller report. That was started by his administration, not the Democrats. The Senate Republican committee, or the Senate committee, was led by Republicans, and that Republican investigation determined that Russia did manipulate our elections. They did interfere in our elections. So, like, just yelling Russia, Russia, Russia does not alter subjective or objective reality. It doesn't change the substance and fabric of time. It doesn't annul reality. That happened. There were at least 44 occasions where members of the Trump campaign team met with Russian authorities ahead of the election. That is not something I made up. That is documented in the Mueller report. There are 14 different instances where the Trump administration obstructed the investigation into Russia. That is not something I'm making up. So you can scream Russia, Russia, Russia all you want. But when you do that, you are either one, lying, or two, confessing your own ignorance. Read the Mueller report. He wasn't found guilty. Who wasn't found guilty of what? He was found liable. If Obama listened to Pelosi, we would be living in a safer world today. I think I think she told him you can't work with them. Like Obama has said his biggest mistake was in his first term. He actually tried to work with Republicans. And they met on inauguration, on the night of his inauguration. They got together in a bar and vowed to oppose everything he did. That was their whole goal was not to do their jobs. It was to keep him from doing his. Hey, at least we don't have to worry about paying Pelosi's bar bill. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Everybody up and down said it was BS after. Okay, none of it was discovered lies, and nobody said that. How many people are on the oh goodness, this guy, you really are a gullible little fool, aren't you? You believe everything Trump said. That you can know somebody's gullible if they still believe Trump after he has lied 35,000 times just in his first term, and he's gotten worse since. I bet you think that January 6th was a peaceful protest, and that your next response is going to be BLM. MAGAs. Can't live with him, You can't flush them down the toilet. Did somebody call? Perfect timing, Brett. I'll leave this one up to you, but I do think that we've got a we've got a nuisance here. By the way, whatever your name is, Montauk or whatever, Brett's my moderator, and there's a very good chance you're about to get moderated. Maggots are the worst. Okay, I agree MAGAs are terrible, but I just ask as a form of courtesy on my channel. I do not use dehumanizing language, whether I agree with people or not. Maggots is dehumanizing language. I don't call people maggots, and I don't think it's right to do so. They use dehumanizing language. I don't. I think they are, misled people. While they always show up to the comment section, but they never show up to places like Freedom 250, as we all saw on TV. Well, he might have been one of the ones with the mask on, Brett. You just couldn't tell it was him because he had his mask on. Oh, on that front, I was on my Facebook page. I'm not showing you the post or anything because I don't want to, give it oxygen. But I saw this Facebook post about the black girl that was sitting there surrounded by the white supremacists. And it was like, oh, 4 years ago, she pooped on the train and here's her mugshot and all this stuff. And it's like, these obvious AI photos or just like a really blurry photo of a black person on a train. Another photo of something that doesn't even look like her, but all black people look alike. And it's just like, just using this is what they do all the time, is this black person couldn't have been a victim because they did something bad in their life. And then if they can't find something, then they make it up. And this guy, he stole a Kit Kat bar 45 minutes before the cops shot him, and you're sitting there sticking up for him. Like, yeah, people deserve to be murdered because they shoplifted a candy bar. Liberal Anya later says, bullseye, Kelly. Thank you. Hey, what was Hillary Clinton going to trial for with the email thing? She wasn't going to trial for it. And smashing and hiding the evidence. She didn't smash and hide the evidence. And then waving at the people questioning her like she was an annoyance. Well, because you ignore the fact that she didn't actually break any laws according to the person that actually did the investigation. So, honestly, buddy, whoever you are, whatever went wrong with your life, I don't know if, you've got a rat running around in your trailer, keeping you awake at night, because you don't ever do the dishes. I don't know what it is that happened in your life that has made you such a miserable person, but it's not my fault. It's not Hillary Clinton's fault, and Donald Trump isn't going to make it any better. So you just scurry along like the little rodent you are. MAGA doesn't even know what emails are. Amazing how they're still obsessing over the emails. After Donald Trump stole thousands of documents and kept them in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. I remember the whole emails thing. My favorite part was when Donald Trump, there was this whole thing where there were some of the emails were marked with a C, and Trump was all like, she doesn't even know that C stands for classified. And it doesn't. It stands for confidential. And confidential is not a classified thing. And I've said this before, but if Bonehead is still on here, every email is sent or received, right? So every single email is on at least 2 servers. It's on the server of the person who received the email, and it's on the server of the person who sent the email, or whatever format they use. So the State Department has a record of every single email sent to and received from Hillary Clinton's emails. There were no missing emails. We know exactly what all the emails were that are relevant to the investigation. So Brett put Boney on timeout. People that spread hate and celebrate evil don't deserve to be treated respectfully. It's funny, it's like you'll have people sit there and they'll say racist stuff, and they'll lie to you, and they will like say evil things about you, but they won't swear. But if you tell them to fornicate off, then they're like, oh, you have to use profanity. Don't have to get rude. Well, you know what's rude? White supremacy is rude. Plan rally on, not that's the worst thing about it, but you're going to sit there and you're going to berate me with white supremacist talking points, and then I'm the one being rude because I tell you to go fornicate yourself? Klan rally on the 4th in DC, of all places. It's a shame. And oh, this is something I wanted to point out. They were carrying Confederate flags. How is that not peak irony? On the 4th of July, on the 250th birthday of our country, they carried the flags of the only real threat we've ever had to our country. They were on the other side of the Civil War. Like, how is that not insane? And then you have Doug Bergstrom, or the North Dakota guy. What's in there? They asked him about the whole Patriot Front marching on it and everything, and he's like, well, I don't agree with them, but they have their rights and blah blah blah. And then he sort of started talking about, for some reason, the DSA and communists and how they want to destroy our country. So he went in one answer, and it took him like 60 seconds. He got asked about white supremacists marching in DC on the 4th of July, and he went to Democrats or commies. Doesn't DSA have the same freedom of speech as the Patriot Front? And they're not even trying to strip away people's rights. They're just trying to see that people get treated like with humanity. The Secretary of Defense is not allowed to conduct business on a private email server for reasons that should be painfully obvious. You know what should be painfully obvious? She wasn't the Secretary of Defense. They don't deserve a voice at all. They wouldn't give anyone else one. They demand protesters shut up. They cry freedom when it comes to a YouTube chat. Yep. No, she didn't break the rule, and she was. I'm not going to get into a debate about her emails. Dude, look it up. Read the report. Just stop watching Fox News. Like, you guys are so weird and silly and dumb. You talk. This is like MAGA. They get their talking points, and they sit there and they just double, triple, quadruple, sextuple, octuple, dectuple it. They just like keep going, like insisting until you get tired of arguing with them about it. And then they act like that means they won the argument. Like, being obdurate is not a victory. It's a refusal to learn. Her person, first of all, she was Secretary of State, not Secretary of Defense. All right? Mr. Condescendingly teaching me stuff you don't understand. She had the same exact setup as Colin Powell. And I know this because Colin Powell is the one who taught her how to set it up. But what neither of them knew is, in the transitionary time, there were rule changes made. There was no evidence at all that she ever knowingly sent or received any classified information over that server that was classified at the time that she was using it. There was some information that was later declared classified, was retroactively declared classified. But for it to be against the law, she would have to knowingly transfer classified information. Donald Trump did that. Like literally. And not just, there's all this kind of nonsense about, oh, well, he's the president and he can declassify it. Well, he didn't declassify it. And it's not just, I can make it declassified with my mind. Because it's information that is declassified, not the documents it's printed on. If somebody has a list of Secret Service or CIA agents that are overseas, like 50, these are our 50 most critical undercover operatives overseas, and they're on this sheet of paper, and the sheet of paper is classified. It's marked classified. You can't sit there and just copy the list of names on another sheet of paper and say, well, this document isn't classified, but this document is classified because it's marked classified. It's not the sheet of paper that's classified. It's the information on the paper that is classified. And you can't just make that information unclassified with your mind. Because if you do that, if you just arbitrarily say it's unclassified, then anybody can divulge that information. And all those super secret undercover operatives are now exposed and going to get killed, and national security is at risk. So because Donald Trump wants to go and review this list of names while he takes a crap, does not mean it becomes unclassified. That's one thing. Another thing is there were nuclear secrets in there. And by law, there are things that even the president of the United States can't declassify by himself. They have to go through a procedure. And one of those things is nuclear secrets. And you're worried that Hillary Clinton sent an email that wasn't even illegal. MAGA can't wash paper plates. The dishwasher is the dog. Here, Fido, do the dishes. I need to eat another frozen burrito. You are just plain wrong. No, dude, I'm not wrong. You look it up. I'm small potatoes compared to what's going on now. And at the same time, so did many other officials. Private servers were common. Okay, isn't that what you're arguing for, though? You're trying to go by the letter of the law. Even according to the law. What law did she break? Let's just put it this way. What law wasn't enforced? Cite for me the law which wasn't enforced. Because you're going to sit there and you're going to talk about the laws. You don't know what the laws are. Trump was named in voter fraud in an attempt to overthrow the election. That was not small potatoes. She wasn't Secretary of Defense. She was Secretary of State. You don't even know what her position was. I already corrected you on that, and you didn't spell. You're not even American. You're using the British spelling of defense. Why are you arguing about stuff you don't know? Is that how they spell it in Russia too? Considering even J.D. Vance stupidly bragged that everything this administration does on a daily damn basis isn't everything, because they flooded the field talking about Watergate as a 12-hour news cycle. And that was to me so telling that JD Vance is like, this would be just nothing today about Watergate. And in a way, he's right. But that doesn't mean that what happened then was minimal. It means what happened then was minimal compared to the just insanity of the Trump administration every day. That they commit at least 10 crimes a day, but because they do it on a daily basis, they're trying to normalize it. It's like a fire hose. And that's the point. It's like, if we just commit so many crimes every single day, then everybody that like, you can't keep track of them all. And then people are just going to seem like they're always going to be complaining no matter what I do. And it's like, yeah, no matter what you do means no matter how many crimes you commit, we still keep pointing out. And then yesterday, he's sitting there talking about career criminals, as though he's not a career criminal. Their new strategy is to paint us all. Yeah, well, I don't know if this is a new strategy. This is a strategy that's been going on since as long as I can remember. I remember commercials from 1980. I think that was my first election where I was kind of semi-aware of what was going on. I was 13 at the time. And basically, Carter was a communist, and Reagan was the salvation from communism. But so he says their new strategy is paint us all as communists because, one, they don't know what communism is. And I mean, I don't think Trump knows what communism is. I know that MAGA doesn't know what communism is. They don't know what socialism is. They don't know what democratic socialism is. They don't know what social democracy is. They don't know the difference between any of those things. They don't know. And sometimes I have a hard time telling the difference between what is a leftist, what is a progressive, what is a liberal. Like, I mean, there's just all these terms, which is why I prefer to talk about issues and not labels. But it's easier to argue with a label. It's easier to erect a label like communism as a straw man and burn that than to actually talk about issues. Because issues, you actually have to try and understand what is happening. So, like, immigration is a real issue that needs real reform, right? The war in Ukraine is a real issue that needs real answers. What's going on in Gaza is a real issue that needs real answers. And just screaming communism doesn't answer any questions, doesn't require any understanding. Hi, Nick. Cult. I don't know what cult. Look, dude, you don't know what the laws are, so don't sit there and pretend like you do. You didn't even know what her position was. You've lost all credibility on this channel. And she didn't try to hide evidence of it. You don't know what you're talking about. You just don't. And I'm not going to let you hijack the whole conversation today. You've had your day. Run along and play. Carrying a Confederate flag in 2026 at the 250th birthday of our country, while crying the Democrats fought for slavery. Peak irony. It's so silly. It's so insane. They carried Confederate flags, and not one Republican that I know of. Maybe one of the guy that got voted out, that got primaried, that suddenly he's like found the courage to speak against Trump. The one that was actually one of the main drivers in getting the Epstein law passed. Can't think of his. I'm terrible with, like, I just cannot remember names for some reason. Anyway, that dude. Maybe he might have condemned the whole, flying Confederate flags on your celebrate the 250th birthday of America march. But why hasn't anybody else said anything? Where's Stephen Miller when you need him? That man can have a rant. I mean, if you want a good saliva spewing, just rage rant. Stephen Miller's good at that, but he has to be talking about brown people. He can't be talking about white people. So that's like the Trump showing people classified info in the Mar-a-Lago bathroom. That's right. It's like they sit there and they throw hissy fits about Hillary Clinton's emails, but they don't talk about like Donald Trump stealing nuclear secrets and hiding them in his bathroom. Trump is terrible, I agree, but it's annoying how you guys won't hold certain people to the same. Dude, it's not the same level. Hillary Clinton did nothing at what you don't understand the issue. You don't. It's not the same level. This is like, I'll explain this. I've said this before. One time I went to the grocery store. I bought a bunch of stuff, bought like $300 worth of groceries. I accidentally forgot to pay for a carton of milk. I get home, and then because the milk's not in a bag, I'm like, oh, whoops, I think I forgot to pay for that. I did one of those self-checkout things. I was like thinking about, should I go back to the store? I'm like, nah, it's like $2, right? HEB can live without $2. They're $1 billion corporation. So I just kept the milk. So you can say, technically I stole, I stole that milk. I'm a thief. That doesn't mean because I accidentally shoplifted a carton of milk one time, doesn't mean that I can't say bank robbery is wrong, right? There is a difference in scope and scale that is so dramatic. What Hillary Clinton did was not done on purpose. When there came an investigation, she fully cooperated with it. Every action that she took was in line with policy. You talk about destroying the evidence and stuff. She destroyed the phones because she was supposed to. That was in line with what policy was. They can't just have phones that had secrets around them running about the country. What was she supposed to do? Sell it to somebody? That is the procedure for how to deal with phones, and they're supposed to be replaced like once or twice a year so they don't get hacked. Everything she did was in line with policy. What Donald Trump did was literally sign his name, lying on a sheet of paper that he had turned everything in when he had not turned everything in. So this is not, oh, you're not willing to hold other people to the same standard. I am absolutely willing to hold people to the same standard. When Bob Menendez got prosecuted for bribery, I didn't say, oh, he's okay. It's okay if he does it. When, what's his name? The California dude got, can't think of his name. The guy that got accused of sexual malfeasance. And he was running for governor and all that. I didn't defend him. I'm not defending Platner right now. No, I have a standard and I hold everybody to it. But what I don't do is act like, the fact they do it doesn't mean I can't criticize Trump. You don't care about consistency. If you cared about consistency, you wouldn't be having this argument with me. We're already past that. What's an office right now? You want Clinton? Get him. Nobody's fighting it, but you're overlooking the elephant in the room, pointing at the mouse. She was doing something that time was common practice. Was Trump hiding classified document in his bathroom in common practice? Exactly. I mean, it's MAGAs are about as consistent as Donald Trump's bowels. Imagine crying about Hunter Biden selling a painting for $50K while Trump steals billions and billions and sells out your fortune and your children's future. So did you hear about this? The whole meme coin thing? He actually made billions, but all of his fans that invested in it lost billions. But he got a percentage of the sale regardless of whatever happened. Like he got a percentage of the sale of the coin. So he made money off of his supporters losing money. And then he bragged about how everybody was making money. Some people just don't understand TSSCI and it shows. Okay, I don't know. I don't know that acronym. What is TSSCI? Top secret combined with sensitive compartmented information is one of the highest levels of U.S. security clearance granting. Oh, so is that like the stuff that you, I think probably most people don't, Chad, because most of us haven't dealt that much with classified information. When I was in the Air Force one time, I was assigned to this air station, San Vito Air Station in Italy, and it was like I think it's closed down now. But the main thing, it was a listening post, and they would eavesdrop on conversations in Russia and stuff, and using satellites and stuff, and they would like play practical jokes, like they'd call up some Russian dude, tell him he left his lights on. This was before cell phones. Anyway, it was kind of, like that kind of big. There was this place called the Pound, and that's where they did, that was the main mission of the base. I worked in a support place. I was in the clinic and did medical records. But for a while, I was the orderly room clerk. And so I worked in the administrative part of the clinic for the commander. And one day I get this, they called them Holy Joes, right? Where they were just like these manila envelopes that had holes in them. And I unwind it, I open it up, and I pull it out, and it's like a classified document. And there had been some kind of hospital somewhere in the Middle East where they had like some terrorists had gotten in and shot like all the patients and the staff and the nurses, and it's like this terrible thing. And I'm like, why is this? Well, I'm like trying to figure out why I'm looking at that, and then I kind of connected it, and I'm like, it somehow got mixed up and sent to me because it's the clinic, and somebody boo-booed somewhere. So I'm like, I'm not supposed to be seeing this. So I put it back in the envelope, wrapped it back up, took it into the first sergeant. I said, this is classified information. I don't think I'm supposed to see this. What do I do? And so he doesn't even open the envelope. He just calls somebody, and then they come and they pick up the envelope and they take it away. And there was this whole 6-month investigation where, like I got like interrogated on how I got it and stuff like that. And it was this big long thing. The military takes classified information really seriously. That's my point. And if there's a mess up, then they really dig down on it. I don't think that I can get in trouble for divulging something that was classified, 40 years ago. But I hope not. But was it 40 years ago? Am I that old? Almost. This would have been like 89. So 37 years ago. Anyway. So yeah, classified information is really critical. And that is not that's top secrets you're talking about. Like that's 2 or 3 layers up. My dad was career foreign service, and he used to work in Miami. I think he probably dealt with some of that stuff. He used to work in Miami, assessing intelligence, what gets sent up to the Secretary of State. The pendulum always swings. I'm ignoring. I'm ignoring Real Ranger because he's just still carrying on about the emails. The pendulum always swings to the opposite end of the spectrum every few decades. This just happens to be the worst it's ever been. You've got to be pooping me. After all the pardons has handed out and sold, yeah, he's responding to the guy that's sitting there, going. This is a response to the troll. It's funny watching Donald Trump sit there and talk about drug cartels when he's literally pardoning the traffickers, like the guy from Honduras and the people that launder money for the traffickers, like the Binance guy. I carried the ad in of YW and still. I sorry, you get acronyms aren't helping me here. I carried the ad in of YW and still. I don't know what that means, Chad. I'm sorry. I used to work with two guys named Chad. One time they were coming back from lunch together. And I was like, so you guys just hanging? And they looked at me and they were just like, don't do it. Don't do it. I said, it's hanging Chads. So anyway, apparently 30% of America is still insane according to the polls. Is his approval rating down to 30%? Oh God, he's reached the "you are a Russian" point of obfuscation. Yes, I asked if you're a Russian because you keep making literal Russian talking points and spelling things as using the British spelling. He called it, so I'm going to just take that as a yes. He called her Secretary of Defense. Yes. He called her Secretary of Defense spelled with a C, not an S. Kamala was an inept, evil AD, and even Joe Brown agrees. Even Joe Brown agrees. You guys try to paint. What does Kamala Harris have to do with anything we're talking about? You guys try to paint dissent as Russians, so you aren't much better. Okay, said the Russian. You get your troll ass out of here. Kamala was evil. Name one evil thing she's done ever. You're hysterical. I hope you mean that in a good way, but even if you don't, at least I made somebody laugh today. Either whether you're laughing at me or laughing with me, at least you're laughing. By the way, if you're new to the channel, got to throw this out once or twice a show. Give me a like and a subscribe, unless you don't like me and don't want to subscribe. But hopefully you do. I'm a nice guy. Okay, evil would be being best buddies with Epstein, but I mean, like, it's so weird. I don't get the Schrodinger's everything of MAGA. Like everything, there is like two simultaneous talking points, right? Or at least two. They like January 6th was a peaceful protest, but it was also staged by the FBI when Donald Trump was in charge of. And Vandalism is bad if you reach in a pool and touch a tube. But if you break open doors and windows and do $2 million worth of damage to the Capitol building and literally wipe your own feces on the wall and steal things out of the Speaker of the House's office and force members of the House of Representatives and Senate to hide and literally try to murder the Vice President of the United States, that's just a peaceful protest. Evil would be best. And now the whole Epstein thing. Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein while Jeffrey Epstein was at the peak of his, I want to say, like, criminal enterprise comes to mind, but criminal enterprise just like actually softens what it was. While he was peddling the chance to rape children for billions of dollars, Donald Trump was his bestie. Donald Trump was sending underage girls to his house to get massages. And then he accused Epstein of stealing one of them. But sure, Hillary Clinton had an email account. Angela Bruce, I think he's pretty tired of going over the same thing with snowflakes that keep coming in this channel crying how Trump is God and worried about Pelosi scratching an armpit. And I asked this yesterday, and I got, and I made a short out of it where I pointed out, like, people want to sit there and they want to act like Donald Trump is the greatest president ever. And I just kind of asked, like, compared to other presidents, what has he done that is so great? Like, FDR brought us out of the Great Depression and defeated Hitler, right? That's pretty impressive. You might not agree with everything he did. He gave us Social Security, whether you agree with it or not. It is still quite an accomplishment. Abraham Lincoln ended slavery. George Washington, like, turned the abstract notion of president into an actual functioning vocation, if you will. Like, he actually defined what the president is and does and how we expect them to behave. Donald Trump gave billionaires a tax cut. What has Trump done that is better than ending slavery? What makes Donald Trump the greatest president ever? Other than just him saying so and his sycophants, lemmings that surround him agreeing with it. Trump ruined America. Agreed. They will never understand. They're willfully blind and ignorant. It's very sad. Shopping for groceries isn't the same thing as holding one of the... No, it's not. You apparently have no idea what an analogy is. Last week, when the troll was crying about Hunter selling that painting for $50K for 10 minutes, but Trump's sons have $1 billion contracts with drone mining technology from Daddy. Everything I am saying is not but Trump. I am talking about Trump, and you are saying, but, like, you're literally saying, but her emails. 10 years later, and you're still just going on about but her emails. Eric Swalwell is the name. Thank you. Could not think of his name. Exactly 100. All right. I'm assuming that's a good exactly 100. I'm just gonna pretend it is if it's not. I hope you're agreeing with me and not the weirdo. G.W. Bush became president heavily as a result of Democrats holding Bill accountable for his sex scandal. Republicans are not on the same page. Right. The difference is we don't defend criminals on the left, we prosecute them. Name the last right wing POS prosecuted. We prosecute them. Donald Trump pardons them. Even the left wing ones. Go ask former Governor Blagojevich in Illinois. If you suck up to him, he will pardon you. Blagojevich was corrupt. I know. I voted for him. Not, then when I found out he was corrupt, I said prosecute him. Here's a joke for you. You know what you call an honest Illinois politician? Carpetbagger. Boom. If you get it, you get it. Illinois had a couple of governors in a row go to jail. Somebody, I don't know what you're talking about with Deshante or whoever that is. They're trying to prosecute an Olympian that touched a piece of floating paint in the reflecting pool with a 10-year felony, but still no Epstein arrests in America. Got to distract with something. So who is Deshante? But stormtroopers pardoned? No, not you, gouts of Communist Party, two wings of same bird. I am a lot older than you, and why God in heaven sent thee his spirit of David and his army of true patriots, Christ light. I'm gonna think that's a bot. Either bot or a very, very heavily medicated person. Betty, are you having a stroke? They used to take it seriously, not anymore. Sub, you earn it today. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Or Sim, I should say, not sir. I'm still pissed that I had to spend an extra 300. You're still mad about that, huh? Brett's brought up this tariff. He bought a $300 motor or a $200 motor, and then he had to pay $300 in taxes or in tariff on it, and he had to pay like $300 in shipping. So yeah, like this, and you can't get it like domestically. You can only get it from China. So he's brought this up like every day for the last week. And I'm also pissed that there's still trolls out there that say buy American. They don't make this. The next time I have a good faith debate with a MAGA will be the first time. Russia getting Trump into the White House is the greatest feat of espionage since the Trojan horse. You know, like here's an example. Do you know where the origin of the expression fake news? Like, do you know what it really comes from? Is Russia was paying people to literally invent stories about Hillary Clinton, and they would have these fake news websites that would look like real websites. And then they would, they had all this targeted information about who to share this stuff with on Facebook. And it was, like all these older people who, had like the media literacy of a, old lady. And this was, like even before there was awareness of, hey, we need media literacy. And so they shared, they sit there and create these stories, just make them up. And some of them were like right-wing stuff, and some of it was left-wing stuff. Like a lot of the stuff about Bernie Sanders, about Bernie Sanders. There was a running back joke that went through my head there. But anyway, Bernie Sanders, getting robbed by the Democratic Party, and like a lot of the scandals regarding that were from Russian fake news. And there was some stuff that might have been valid there. Man, there was some stuff that actually happened because people were reading the fake news and bringing it to, like actual conventions. It gets complicated. But they cost Hillary Clinton votes on the left and the right. And these were actual fake news. Like, this is not, I don't believe what you're saying. This is like just people sitting there coming up with stories in their imagination and treating it as real. It's like The Onion without a punchline. That's what fake news is. That's the origin of fake news. And fake news is how Trump won. So it's funny that as soon as he won, he started picking this phrase up and using it against actual news. So now you've got people that are like, oh, is that what fake news MSNBC told you? Or fake news CNN? As though like I watch CNN. But anyway, if you didn't know now you know. Russia. It's real and happened. It did. It 100% happened. Yes, smear, literal poop. Those fornicators are such traitors. I will never get over what happened on January 6th. I remember sitting here in my chair, this very chair, and watching what happened on TV. And I was actually technically at work because I was working from home. And I had this my office was really close, and we were kind of all watching it together. We had a little chat going on, and we were all just like, I cannot believe this is America. Like, if you can think back to where you were and what you were doing and when that happened, how you were feeling, you weren't going, oh, this is a peaceful protest. You're like, why doesn't he call in the fornicating National Guard? And they got pardoned. And of course, we went right back to their day jobs of committing more sexual assault, more, and getting rearrested. Yep. A lot of them have offended again, and they're trying to say that their pardon still applies. Like, it's like a rest of their life pardon where, they can just go out and commit whatever crimes they want. Pelosi was the top dog for security on January 6th. No, she wasn't. She said no to having the National Guard during the January 6th event. No, she didn't. And the Speaker of the House does not decide how anything have any say at all in the National Guard. Like, just period. There are two people that have a say over the National Guard, the DC National Guard. The President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense. Like, this is just one of those things. It's a MAGA talking point that has become like a religious talking point. It is so ingrained in them. But this is not like some sort of, fine-tune. This is the law. Only two people can call the National Guard or not call the National Guard. There's the Capitol Police, and the Capitol Police has a board. And one of the board members, not the only board member, but one of the board members is the Speaker of the House. Another one is the Senate Majority Leader. So Mitch McConnell had just as much say as Nancy Pelosi in the Capitol Police. And once they started storming the Capitol, and Donald Trump was sitting in his dining room watching it happen on TV and rewinding his favorite parts so he could watch it again, instead of calling the National Guard in, which he could do. Nancy Pelosi was trying to call him to ask him to do it. There's voicemails. Even his own children were begging him to do it. And he refused to. He was enjoying it too much. They were doing that for him. So don't act like January 6th was like this notion that it was Nancy Pelosi's fault. It's like, how do you even get there? What an inane, ignorant, deliberately partisan thing to say. Like, actually learn about what you're talking about. Nancy Pelosi doesn't control the DC National Guard. The president does. And it's just, and he sits there and says, I wanted 10,000 National Guard and she turned me down. The DC National Guard only has 2,500 members. It's a lie on the face of it. It was blackmail, child predatoring. Call it, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. He was deported illegal immigrants in the millions. And what does that have to do with anything? She was right about, Hillary was right about everything. The only thing she was right about, or wrong about, is she underestimated the number of people that go in the deplorable bucket. Should have been like 98%. The greatest president ever in history. Okay, what has he done, Charlie? Tell me what he's done that's better than, freeing the slaves or stopping the Nazis. Go ahead. I'll wait. God bless President Trump. Well, I'm sorry. Speaking on behalf of God, I'm going to say no. It is for you. You're schooling those fools. Thank you. I believe Trumpstein is a pedophile. I would really like to see what's in the Epstein files. To find out what they really do say. I love it when people are like, well, we've seen them and there's nothing in them. And it's like, no, we haven't seen them. That's why we want to see them. Well, if he were in there, then Joe Biden would have used him against him. Like Joe Biden, this is another one of those Schrodinger's things. Like, on the one hand, Joe Biden was so, brain dead that he shouldn't have even been running the country, and it's a criminal enterprise against the nation. But on the other hand, he personally read through 6 million pages of documents just to see if Donald Trump was in the Epstein files, and then said it's not worth the trouble because there's nothing in there, so I'm not going to do anything about it. It's just like there's no consistency of thought. These people are as consistent as Donald Trump's bowels. Happy birthday to Mr. Bush, by the way, turned 80 on July 6th. Really? So he's not. What is he like? It's like just a couple of weeks younger than Donald Trump. American products are rarely as good as they used to be. I think it all depends on the products. Fake news existed long before that. I don't know what you mean by fake news existing long before that. The term fake news came from this specific thing that was fake news. Like, it was literally fake news. I don't know what you mean by fake news when you say that. But the term was coined because of this operation that was fake news. America only makes junk like my pillow and pliers and maybe shoelaces, etc. What is a thing that America makes good? Didn't realize GWB was that old. Yeah, well, remember, he left office almost 20 years ago. So it's been a couple of minutes. You want to feel old? when The last episode of Friends was, I was looking at this one time and I was just, was May 6th, 2004. That was a long time ago. So that's 22 years ago. So think back to like when you were a kid and you were watching reruns. Like when I was a kid, I was watching reruns of Gilligan's Island. Those Gilligan Island reruns were newer then than the Friends reruns are now. I thought about that and I'm like, whoa, I'm old. That is what you are doing. What am I doing? Yellow journalism of Hearst. That was more sensationalist journalism, and that goes back. But that wasn't called fake news. That was called yellow journalism. It's called yellow journalism because the paper was yellow. The actual term fake news was coined by this event of like literally making up news. You are making fake news. No, I'm not. Look it up. Like, you know, you don't have to believe me, but you can look it up. MSM hasn't been real news for days. Blah, 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 blah. This, you know, like MAGA just dismisses anything that they don't agree with as just mainstream media, you know. If the mainstream media reports it, it must not be true. So I guess if I saw Donald Trump won the election on MS Now, does that mean that Donald Trump didn't win the election? I actually have, because they make it sound like if anything that they don't want to hear, if it's reported on mainstream media, then that means it's not true. Like they use mainstream media as an argument that it can't be true, which is another one of those weird things. It's like, you know, reality exists whether you want it to or not. I actually have one of those My Pillows, not too bad. What does America make that the world wants? F-35 and Taylor Swift music. So any thoughts on the wedding? I don't have any. I'm happy for them. They both seem like nice people. Mike, what is he saying that's fake? Why don't you go to Fox then? Or is it Newsmax? Like, I mean, it's like, you know how you piss off a MAGA? State something true. CNN, Army soldiers call it communist news. Oh, Army soldiers call it communist. Well, I guess that proves it. I don't know what. I'd never watched CNN, so I have no comment on it. I don't care about CNN. I saw it live too. All news media is weaponized propaganda. And no, it's not. That's just a lazy comment. I will bet you nothing will happen in the Trumpstein scandal in the government. I bet you that if we want something done in this matter, we will. This is nah. I don't go that far. I'm not going to advocate for violence against the president of the United States. Yes, she did. She's on camera for it. No, she didn't, and she's not on camera. She's on camera, literally requesting, unless you're trying to support me here. She was on camera asking for the National Guard to come. Like that, she's on the phone begging him to send in the National Guard. Speaker of House and Sergeant of Arms during the current. No, it's not. That's not true. Was wondering when the police or National Guard would show. Then I've read the Constitution. It doesn't say anything about that. Muted me? No. 3 people, Secretary of the Army, SOW. There's no such thing as a Secretary of War. There is no such thing as a Secretary of War. It's the Secretary of Defense. And definitely by law, it's the Secretary of Defense. And in 2021, it was the Secretary of Defense. But I will agree with you that if you want to call Pete Hegseth a sow, I can get on board with that. But the Secretary of the Army, as far as I'm aware, unless there's been some sort of change, I'm fairly certain that it's only the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. Fox News and Newsmax are trash. I just disagree with you. There is legitimate news networks out there. There is legitimate newspapers out there. There are legitimate journalists out there. I'm not going to smear an entire profession with 3 letters. And I think that's just lazy. YouTube flagged your comment. You must be on the watch list. January 6th with the inside job by the FBI to know I was. It wasn't an inside job. So were you in on the inside job, Mike? Who was in charge of the FBI? Who was the president of the United States on January 20th or January 6th, 2021? Who is president of the United States, Mike? Who is in charge of the FBI, Mike? If it was an inside job, then that actually makes sense. But it wasn't. But Mike, think it through. Donald Trump's the one that stood to benefit. Donald Trump was in charge of the FBI. So if it were an inside job, it was his inside job. When did the Capitol Police call? I don't even know what you're talking about. You know who didn't call anybody? Donald Trump didn't call in the National Guard. That's all that's relevant. It's like you can't even, like, sometimes it's not worth like pulling out the threads of every weirdo MAGA conspiracy. The January 6th conspiracies are just like multi-tiered, contradictory insanity. I saw the FBI all dressed up in the same draft. You could tell anybody that wasn't bleeping 40 or plus. Who was in charge of the FBI, Mike? Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley is running almost as fast from the Pelosi bill since Donald Trump's stocks have come up. Why is where is it? Oh, where it was? Yeah, it's Josh Hawley. Mike gets all his news from Uncle Joe Jim Bob's YouTube news blog. Now I want to go start an Uncle Joe Jim Bob's YouTube. I literally have approved most of your messages. Did you go to January 6th? Were you there? Dude, if you're there, that doesn't mean that you knew what was going on. Unless you like. No, I didn't go there because I'm not a violent criminal that tried to overthrow the United States. I'm not a traitor. Bragging that you're a traitor does not mean that you knew what was going on. Like, did the FBI, did people come up to you and say, yeah, I'm the FBI? Who ordered the FBI? There were people that were sent there after it started, Mike. But you know who started it? You know who initiated the whole thing? It's Donald Trump. When he said, get Mike Pence. Yeah, that does not at all mean what you're trying to imply it means. I saw all that and I couldn't even figure out what was so bad about it. She was trying to get the National Guard there. She was mad that the National Guard wasn't being sent to stop it from happening. And she couldn't call in the National Guard. I saw the police and FBI agents letting people in 2 hours into it. Did you see them breaking through the windows? Did you see the guy getting smashed in the door as he was screaming for his life? Did you see that 149 police officers were injured, including one guy that lost his eye, including one that was like literally beaten to death and then back to life? But sure, that's all peaceful, because 2 hours after getting the crap beaten out of them, they decided to just give up, and let things happen. That doesn't. Do you know what the space-time continuum is, Mike? Do you know how that works? What do my credentials matter? My credentials are reality. And my name is Kelly. I'm just a dude sitting in a recliner trying to educate MAGAs, which is a very difficult job. They cut off. You're just too weird, Agus. Is it pronounced Agus? Can I ask you a question, Agus? Did you find a date on Grindr when you marched with carrying your Confederate flag on July 4th? You know, did you hang out with your other little Patriot Front fellas? Did you go out for drinks afterward? You have a good time? Did you get lucky? Did you Netflix and chill? This message is held for review. Every time you type, I'm tired of approving it. Yeah, this is, you know what? Did you know that every documentary that's ever been made, including Melania, is edited? That he wasn't able to sue, he just sued. He is able to sue because there's no law that says when you're able to sue. I could sue you for that comment, and it could get thrown out of court, which is what happened to his lawsuit. Because you're believing the narrative that the media that is weaponized since 2013. No, you're believing the narrative that the media is weaponized since 2013 because a bunch of right-wing lunatics have told you that. The media that includes thousands of different organizations with thousands of different people. It is just a dumb comment, utterly devoid of any sense of what the media is, to make it sound like the media is a singular entity. It's just dumb. All right? Stop hanging out with patriots. Stop hanging out with the Patriot Front and white supremacists. It's not good for your brain. Like, find new friends. I'm about done with. All right, we're done with this clown. You should file a complaint with YouTube because you're on watch list. I just blocked the clown. I'm tired of him, Brett. Months of invites from President and Rudy and Roger. Oh, Rudy Giuliani and Roger Stone. I thought the left loved. Oh, now we got BLM in there. Woo! Yeah. Clinton needs to be in prison. Protests. Yeah. You know, some people don't think that cops should be murdering black people. So that makes it okay for white people to overthrow the government and overturn the results of an election. I mean, that's like perfect linear line there. Ringo started at 86 today. Now I feel really old. So I think we got sick of him at about the same time, Brett. Trump's dad, Fred, was on. Yeah, well, I think it was his granddad. I think his grandfather was in the KKK. I might be wrong, but like they have like, and Trump's dad got was literally fined for being a slumlord. The left protest, criminals riot, like the 3%ers that were arrested starting fires in several states. Yeah. A lot of the most violent destruction was done by right-wingers. I'm trying to remember. It wasn't 3%ers. It was a different. I want to say it starts with no. Anyway, there was a group that was like literally starting like the police precinct that was burned down in Minneapolis. Was burned down by right-wingers, and we know this because they were actually convicted of doing it. And they're in prison for doing it. And nobody was okay with that. Like, nobody was sitting there going, yeah, burn down that building. Like, you didn't have, I mean, by nobody, I mean, like Joe Biden wasn't going, boy, that'll earn them. Democrats, elected Democrats from across the spectrum, condemned the violence. Donald Trump has never condemned the violence on January 6th, not once. Almost no Republicans have. Trump's dad, Fred, was in the KKK. More deaths and damage during the mostly peaceful protest of 2020. There was a lot more people in the protest in 2020. I don't know what you're talking about with the violence, but let's look at some facts about it. There were about 40 million people that protested. Of those 40 million, there were about, I think, 2,000 arrests. Most of those were for like probation violations. There were very few arrests for violence. It was overwhelmingly peaceful. There were some violence, and there was definitely some people that took advantage of the protests to go and like raid Walmarts or whatever. But it's not like the Democrats were sitting there going and encouraging it the way Donald Trump has encouraged what happened on January 6th. And it's like, this is, that MAGA has lost the argument on January 6th when they start yelling, but BLM. It's apples and tuna fish. It's not even apples and oranges. Oh, Google it. I mean, I Googled it and it told me about a book written by Stephen King. Then why didn't they provide the Epstein files? Oh, yeah, well, now we're back to we already talked about this. You're assuming that what they did is review the Epstein files to see if there was anything in there, and then decided not to release them based on that. That's the problem with you're making a presumption that they actually knew what was in there, and then made a determination to not release them based on what was in them. That's your supposition. Your problem with your argument is in its supposition. There's no evidence that they ever looked at the Epstein files, or that they were motivated to, get Trump on it. Mike Kramer had to go. He was having a toddler time. Yeah, there's a couple of them that, like, I am for disagreement. I'm fine with disagreement. I'm fine with people, offering alternative views. What I am not fine with is people, like, if you're gonna disagree with me, if I'm going to respond to your comment in good faith, I would like you to respond to my answer in good faith. I don't think that's too much to ask. You want to have a good faith discussion, we can have a good faith discussion. But if you're just going to ignore what I respond, or you're just going to keep doubling down on the same idiocy, or you're just going to move to the next MAGA talking point, then I'm not going to waste my time with you. I'm going to give you a chance, but and I'm fine having a debate, but I'm not fine just having trolls take over the channel. We make pretty good cars. So this goes back to what does America make that's decent? You know what America makes that's good? America makes really good whiskey. I will say that. Or like bourbon, we make good bourbon. Nobody is anywhere near us when it comes to bourbon. Enough with the stupid Epstein files. I don't care. This is going through 3 administrations. It's actually going back to it started during the Clinton administration. Although there's also not every single president has made conscious decisions about the Epstein files. It's the FBI has been bearing this. It's not like every single time, it's not like this is a top-down decision. Thanks, Democrats, for NAFTA. I think if you go and you look, you will find that the majority of Republicans supported NAFTA, and the Republican Congress, actually, the majority of the Republicans in Congress voted for it. So thanks, Congress, for NAFTA. And yes, Bill Clinton was also for it. And the thing is, what I find ironic is the thing that they were worried about, like Ross Perot was worried about, is actually kind of in a lot of ways the opposite of what happened. And I'm not sure NAFTA, there were some things about, NAFTA is not all bad. This is one of those things where it's like, why can't we talk about the policy? And those who are regular watchers of my show, I much prefer to talk about policy than to talk about names or parties or whatever. I think that there are real issues that we have in our trade agreement with Mexico and with Canada. But this is one of those things where if I think both parties have legitimate concerns, and both parties have approached things with legitimate flaws. I think one of the things about NAFTA that has actually been an issue that has gone under the radar is its effect on agriculture, on our agricultural workers. It's more complicated than letters. And I think nothing says more about the new one than Donald Trump actually the USMCA or whatever it's called, the one he didn't renew, the one that he made and then called stupid because he seems to have forgotten that he's the one that did it. He called it the greatest deal ever made when he made it. Then he said it was stupid. Who did this? He actually asked who did this. Fred Trump was arrested at a Klan. Yeah, okay, so it was Fred Trump. I remember somebody getting arrested at a Klan rally. Difference is, today they just wear MAGA hats instead of hoods. No, we don't make good cars anymore. You can thank capitalism for that, crock lady. I know this. China makes better electric cars than ours. China has us buried on electric vehicles. And electric vehicles are the future, whether Trump wants to admit it or not. And China doesn't just have us beat on EVs. They have thought through the complaints that we have and addressed those complaints. One of the things that I think is amazing is we worry about, what is the biggest concern when it comes to EVs? It is distance, right? Because nobody wants to, if you go on a road trip, you don't want to have to stop somewhere and wait 2 hours for your car to charge. So in China now, they have this. And then the other concern that everybody has is battery life, right? Like your battery life is, what happens after 5 years, just like, with your phone, your battery starts to go, right? So in China, they have a line of vehicles, then they've gotten like 40 million actual real life road tests of this now. And this was like 6 months ago, so it's probably even more. But they have these cars where you pull up to the charging station, and it's not real. It does charge batteries, but what it does is it locks your car into place, and then it automatically changes the battery. It swaps out your empty battery with a full battery, and then you just pay a fee for battery rental, and it's like $20 a month. And so, if I told you you could get $20 a month for gas and it would just be unlimited amount of gas, you would be all over that. And not only that, it takes like 3 minutes. So you can actually get a full charge on your car faster than it would take somebody to fill their car up with gas. And their cars are like start off around 15,000, and those versions are like on par with Teslas. Like they're better cars than ours, and they're way beyond us. And they've got like they're putting in more and more of these battery swap stations, and so then they just charge the battery in the little thing after they pull it out, and then that, like, they have like computer stuff that analyzes the battery to see if it's okay, and if it needs to be repaired or something, then they files it away somewhere. Anyway, it's super cool. I just love this idea because it solves all the problems that people have, or at least all the major issues people have with EVs. Why can't we do that? Why can't we be forward thinking? There is no more Klan rally. The KKK isn't a thing. No, it got replaced by MAGA rallies. You don't. It's not. And they replaced hoods with red hats with white letters on them. When was the last time someone had a Klan rally in New York? Well, I can tell you the last time they had a MAGA rally in D.C. I can tell you the last time that they had a Patriot Front rally with waving Confederate flags in D.C. KKK evolved and rebranded itself. It's still there. It's same racism, different name, right? There's a rally every day right in Washington. They no longer wear white heads. They just put maxi pads on their ears. Oh, goodness. Brett loves those maxi pads. Now I guarantee you, since he said that, it's only going to be like a couple of minutes before a MAGA says tampon Tim. If I go down in the comments, I guarantee you, I can almost guarantee, I won't promise you, but I am probably certain that there is a tampon Tim comment coming. CNN sucks. Okay. I have no particular affection for CNN. The one dude, the Scott, whatever his name is, I see, like Asen is one of my favorite follows on Twitter. And I don't know how he does it. He endures like this nonsense all the time. But I see Scott Jenkins, I think his name is. Anyway, the guy is such a buffoon. Kelly, you are right about MAGA dismissing anything they agree with as fake, wrong. You do the same thing, though, and by doing so, you're making our side look bad. What have I dismissed that's as fake or wrong? Ronnie? I'm open to hearing. I try to be honest. I try. If I'm wrong about something, I'm happy to be corrected. But I'm not sure what you're referring to. This seems sort of open-ended. CNN sucks and Fox News sucks. I don't watch CNN or Fox News. I have absolutely no desire to watch either one of those networks. So for different reasons. I feel like Fox News is like Republican propaganda, and I think CNN is sensationalist propaganda. My problem with CNN is not that it's that it's fake news. It's that it is like the news network equivalent of clickbait. They're just trying to get your attention. They don't care about substance. Hey, Kitty, how you doing today? The Tina Louise is still on the island. She outlasted all the Gilligan bunch. She turned 92 in February. So, which one was she? Is that Ginger? Yeah, Ginger. I was more of a I had the biggest crush on Marianne. I was always like into the brunette. Like Janet on Three's Company. Oh man, I was smitten by Janet. Why do people still watch the news? It's boring. Well, to learn what's going on. Way to get hung up on the right stuff. That was a good book if you've never read the book. The movie was good too, but the book was really good. The book is about the first people that went to space. There's a book called The Right Stuff, and then they made a movie on it. I'd like to hear more news about this building. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look into that. I believe that indie journalists are the key to knowing the facts these days. I think that it really helps, especially as you start to see the monopoly of news networks by billionaires, right? And it's not just news networks; it's also this social media networks. Is that the right word? The social media platforms, and like local news you've got Sinclair Broadcasting, trying to own all of that, and you've got like with CBS, the Paramount Plus, and like you've got a few billionaires that like own 50% of the news, and that to me is the far greater concern than MSM fake news. When you've got people like Jeff Bezos putting their thumb on the scale of what is reported and not reported, that I have a problem with. Especially when his thumb is being applied because of threats from Donald Trump. Joe Biden was president-elect. Yes, president-elect. Well, actually, he wasn't even president-elect technically yet because they hadn't counted the electoral votes. That was kind of the whole point of January 6th. But the actual president was Donald Trump. Resistance Kitty, doing well. Oh, okay, so all right, many of the Capitol Police were outside already. That's the workplace. Yeah, Capitol Police in the Capitol building. Who would have thunk? Secretary of Army has no power over troop movements. That's what I don't know where that came from. Anyway, not one. Yes, they were. That was literally the entire point of it. They were trying to prevent the official nomination of Joe Biden as president. That's what happened. You can sit there and deny it all you want, but that's what happened. Reality doesn't change just because you posted a comment on YouTube. Hate to break it to you, since people like you forget that Trump said to peacefully march, but hey, I hate to break it to you, but he said fight 21 times and he said the word peacefully one time. I hate to break it to you, but as people weren't being peaceful, he literally did nothing except watch it on TV and rewind his favorite violent parts. So, yeah, he said peacefully one time. That doesn't mean when Guido says take care of Vito, that he literally means make sure that he's getting taken care of. Like he said peacefully with a wink. That's a, like, are you that gullible? Like, are you that gullible or are you that dishonest? One of the two has to be true. Violated the Constitution. Pelosi, and Pelosi had the rally, said, be there, it will be wild. Pelosi's the one that said, I'm going to march down there with you. Pelosi, fired off the tweet that ignited the whole thing. Like, do you people engage with reality at all anymore? Or do you just like run and hide behind silly little talking points? Darn, you love it. No, I love a good troll. Brett, how many Democrats have said QE have to fight like hell? How many Democrats have said we need to fight like hell and then sent people to the Capitol building to prevent the casting, the official nomination of the U.S. president, and while they were crapping and wiping their walls on poop on the walls? It's not just the words by themselves or just the rally by itself. This is the thing that you won't engage with. He watched it on TV and didn't do anything to stop it. If he wanted them to act peacefully, why didn't he say, I said peacefully? Why didn't he tweet that? You're not being peaceful. They weren't being peaceful. Why didn't he call the National Guard? Because they were doing what he wanted them to do. That's why. Stop hiding behind, like parsing words and like, come on. If he wanted it to be done peacefully, it would have been done peacefully. Or at least he would have said, I said peacefully. No one needs credentials. Yeah, that was somebody asked for my credentials. And it's like, what? Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir. Again, if it's your first time, give me a like and follow. You are not proving that you are credible. I am more educated than you are, but yet you dismiss me. Dismiss what? What do you mean you're more educated than me? I am just saying things that are true. If you're more educated, it doesn't change what I know as being true. Do you understand how reality works? I am saying things that really happened. However much you know or don't know does not change what actually happened. I am not saying anything that didn't actually happen. Just declaring I know more than you does not mean you know more than me. And it doesn't mean that the things I know, I don't actually know. So Brett told Anthony, you're not paying that game here. And then Kitty said, I know this might be hard to understand, but it is the entire package that proves his guilt, not just one. Oh, so Anthony must be the clown that was talking about he said peacefully. Sir, for that comment, do it. Aha, yet another one that don't know me and thinks I don't understand. I don't know you. So all I have to do, all I can base my reply to you on is the things that you are saying. And the things that you are saying are ignorant. So that's on you. Like if you walk into a room and say stupid things, everybody's going to think you're stupid. Maybe you're not stupid. Maybe you're like really, really smart. But if all we can base our opinion on you is based on the things that you have said, and what you have said is just brazenly stupid. If he really wanted them to march there peacefully, he would have done something when they weren't being peaceful. He did not do anything when they weren't being peaceful. He rewound the TV to rewatch his favorite, most violent parts. That is not the actions of somebody that wanted them to behave peacefully. That is the behavior of somebody that's enjoying the violence. More educated does not mean you are smarter. 2, mean that you know more about a subject outside of your specialty than somebody, that you're an authority on everything. Right. And like, so I have this friend from high school who kind of got annoyed with me because, I called him out on his sophistry. And the thing is, this guy works with wood for a living, right? He makes things with wood, and he's really, really good at it. Like he makes beautiful things. Knows way more about wood than I do. But that doesn't mean he knows more about politics than I do. It's not just about intelligence or not intelligence. It's about, actual knowledge of the thing you're talking about. If I were to go to him and say, like, I don't even know, I can barely saw a board in half. I am not like a crafty person. By crafty, I mean good with my hands. If I went and I told him about how to do woodwork, I would just look like an idiot. Like I'd be like, hey, the grain's upside down on that board or something, I don't know if grain has right side up or not. Probably doesn't, which is why I'm saying that. Like I could say something to him and I could say it with authority, but that doesn't mean it's not stupid. All right. So when you say that he said peacefully, it is clear that peacefully is not his intent by what he did afterward or what he didn't do afterward. Thank you for speaking out. Jason Paul Watson is a true patriot standing up to Donald Trump. Is Jason Paul Watson the military guy? I have mixed feelings on that. I agree with what he said, but as a veteran, and as an American, I also think that if you're in uniform, you shouldn't be endorsing any politician or any side. You shouldn't be political while you're wearing your uniform. And it is a violation of the UCMJ. Now, the current administration is selectively enforcing that with Watson, because they're not prosecuting brazen partisanship from right-wing MAGA military people. And that I actually have an issue with. But if I've had an issue with that and I've spoken out against that. So now if I were to suddenly defend Watson, I would actually be guilty of what somebody was saying. Like I don't call out my own side. I don't agree that he should have been doing that in uniform. I'm sorry. I appreciate what he did in the sense that I appreciate his standing against Trump. I just think he did the right thing in the wrong way. I literally hold 7 degrees, 3 of them graduate, but I would be not in a million years imply that makes me better than someone. This is something, you know what? Actually, since this is one of Kitty's degrees, she probably knows more than I do. We talk about Dunning-Kruger. People talk about Dunning-Kruger a lot. And there's a flip side to Dunning-Kruger. Now, Dunning-Kruger, we talk about it as people who don't know anything acting like they know a lot. But there's a flip side to that. And one of the things they did in this study was they had A students and C students sat, like A, B, like in alternating seats. And they had everybody write an essay. And then they had everybody grade their own essay, right? And what they found is the A students tended to give themselves C's and the C students tended to give themselves A's. And then they would pass their paper to the left and then they would grade the other person's paper. So then the A students were graduating the C students' papers, and then the C student papers were graduating the A student papers. And what they found is that once the A students read the C students, they were like, okay, that's a C. And then they would like bump their own grades up. So then they would raise their grades to an A. But the C students would read the A students and not change anything. So one of the things that I think happens, and this is just me, this is not, I don't think this was anything that was actually articulated in the study, but just my observation of human nature. I think that this is based on like some people I know that are really smart, that are also some of the smartest people I know are also the best listeners I know. And they're the best learners I know. And I think that one of the reasons that they learn more, they know more because they learn more, and they learn more because they don't assume they know everything. Like they actually have a kind of humility in how they approach life. Does that make sense to you? Like the smartest people are actually the most curious and the most inquisitive, and the ones that are more likely to learn from other people. Donald J. Trump and Kitty is, in that category to me. Donald J. Trump is a criminal, 34 counts. He is a convicted criminal. That's not an opinion. That is an objective fact. Fame is everything. Yep. But what about Biden? Joe Biden, I was thinking about this. Joe Biden ate an ice cream cone, yeah. Did you know that? Joe Biden ate an ice cream. They like had 3 days of coverage because Joe Biden ate an ice cream cone. I think that tops Barack Obama wore a tan suit. They even, after he, left office, had been out of office for like a year, they ran a story of Joe Biden, the private citizen, eating an ice cream cone, as though like it's newsworthy. And they're, Joe Biden's still eating ice cream cones. Hasn't he learned anything? I never even mentioned education. You said you know more. What about Biden? Oh, I think that comment was facetious. Oh, okay. So there's 2 people getting confused. Okay. So I think that that might have been a. So Anthony is it's like, hey, what did I do? So I think what happened is there was some crossfire going on, and there was another dude that was mentioning it, and you got caught in the crossfire. Sorry, bud. MAGA is a cult. Donald J. Trump is their leader, a pedophile, but MAGA don't like facts. I like it when they say that we're a cult. I mean, I think that the whole MAGA is a cult thing is going a bit too far, but I think it's not going too far to say there are several cult-like qualities. But I like it when they're like, they always, MAGA is one of their biggest rebuttal things is the whole I'm made of rubber, you're made of glue, bounces off me and sticks to you. And so then they'll be like, TDS is a cult or whatever, And it's like, okay, who is our cult leader? Because I would love to find one. We can't be a cult because we can't even rally behind a presidential candidate. We can't rally behind anybody. We need a cult leader. I would love to belong to a cult in that way. Why are you such a liar? I'm not a liar. There was quite a bit of violence. I live in Minnesota. Yes, there was quite a bit of violence in Minnesota. But a lot of that violence was not started by the protesters. A lot of that violence was started by people that wanted people to challenge the protests, who wanted to make it seem like the protest was at fault. And I don't defend the violence that was there, regardless of who did it. I think that reducing the protests to the violence is reductive and fallacious. But I lived in Minnesota for a number of years myself. I have a lot of family that lives up there. Both my brothers live up there, their in-laws. I have many, many very good friends that live up there on both sides of the aisle. Brett says, want me to tell you some truth? MAGA, is it there? You know when else there was a lot of violence in Minnesota? When ICE was like murdering people on the streets. MAGA is a death cult that runs on hate and ignorance. Prove me wrong. Trump caused that BS. My bad guy. Yeah, he did. Let me be loud and proud about their predation support. Are you a trumpet? I am definitely not a trumpet. I have definitely never been accused of liking Trump too much. Trump was the one that had an insertion against him. Are you trying to say that the insurrection was against Trump? I don't understand what you're trying to say there. I don't know what you mean by insertion was against him. You have to be president. Trump was the president, not Biden. Trump was the president, but he was on his way out the door, and he knew it. And he was trying to prevent that from happening. He was trying to overturn the result of the election so that he could stay in office. Did you ever think we would have a rapist in the White House? No, I did not. Amazing, isn't it? MAGA should be so proud. And I just, like, some of this stuff is just like, if a Democrat did it, like if a Democrat pardoned money launderer for drug cartels and human traffickers that turned around and gave that president a coin that he made billions of dollars off of, and while his followers lost billions of dollars off of it, I think MAGA would have a problem with that if Joe Biden had done that. Of course, Joe Biden wouldn't do that, but it's just like they get mad at Joe Biden for eating an ice cream cone. And they're like, oh, you'll just hate Trump no matter what he does. You mean like start wars? Try to overthrow the country? Steal nuclear secrets? But you're going to get mad at Joe Biden for eating an ice cream cone? I mean, a 34-time convicted felon can be president, but if you have one, you can't work at McDonald's. Right. Well, Donald Trump proved he can work at McDonald's too, because he did the fry station wrong. If Trump is so damn evil, why didn't the Dems charge him before he became president instead of waiting until he was president? You realize they tried, right? And the Dems can't charge anybody for anything. But yes, ask Jack Smith about that. This is what in logic is called a false dichotomy. It says that there must be true outcomes that are true. There's only two things that can be true. And if that means if one thing isn't true, that necessitates that the other thing is true. The reason that Donald Trump was not charged, he was charged, but the reason he wasn't tried is because the Supreme Court he appointed And the judge he appointed illegally and unconstitutionally said he couldn't be. Has nothing to do with the Democrats. And by the way, Smith is a Republican. Biden did not speak at a KK funeral. Biden spoke at a funeral of a representative who was raised by a family that was in the KKK and left the KKK in the 50s and then spent his entire career fighting against the KKK. Again, MAGA cannot have an intellectually honest conversation. So Brett, shut that down real fast. You are not playing that game here. Old and foolish. Don't know to whom you're referring there. Brett, is that is non-way to look at it bit. There is also other ways to look at what? This is like, looks like a text-to-speech thing. That is one way to look at it, but there are other ways to look at it. I'm sorry, look at what? If you had to pay $20 for an entire month of automobile energy, how would Trump and his sons make any money? Think of the billionaires. Am I getting like way behind again? Oh, I'm like half an hour behind. Sorry. There are still Klan rallies. Go to Fort McCoy, Florida. They still have them. America makes good cars. They make them for Toyota and Honda. I think there's still some good cars. I think there's some good Fords and some good Chevys or whatever. Although, like, when I lived in Minnesota, like I was in this farm community, and there was like a real rivalry between Ford owners and I saw this hat one time. It said, "Friends don't let friends drive Chevys." I live in Florida as a child. Racism is everywhere. The MAGA likes to I hope it looks like there's some sort of glitch going on with my stream. So sorry if I'm getting all jumbly up. But MAGA just likes to pretend that racism just magically got up and disappeared one day. They get very upset if you point out that racism still exists in this country. All right, let me. Hang on 1 second. I think I need to see if this helps. Okay, hopefully that'll help. Hello. All right, there we go. All right. Sorry for all that. I'm trying to close some browsers to see if I can free up some memory to make this freezing thing better. WRLL hell, I might have to come back here. At least it is not an echo chamber. Hey, Anthony, anytime you want to come in, and I am honestly open to a real genuine debate with anybody at any time, just as long as it's respectful and it's in good faith. As a child, I remember a black man waiting in line at a chicken shack. White people just kept cutting in front of him, and he took it and took it. I kept asking they were doing that, the things that you remember as a child. %48 of all Toyotas sold in the United States are built domestically. And then is that counting like 100% built domestically, or is that like prefab ones too? I know that they're like, I think if I remember right, Honda is the most American built car. Like when you factor in like prefabbing and stuff like that, like Sometimes they'll make all the parts in other countries, and then it'll be like assembled in the United States. Okay, Acura, that's it. Acura is the one. 64 to 70% of all Honda vehicles sold in the United States are built in America. 100% of all Acuras. Google is going to start charging for third-party fees. What do you mean by that? MAGA will always downplay the fight like hell comment at the Capitol. And it's not like he said peacefully one time and then fight like hell one time. He used the word fight 21 times and he used the word peacefully one time. And again, he never, like, to me, just the real clarifying thing on all of this is that he did not stop it once the violence started. Did I make those baskets behind you? I did not. I actually had a friend that sold these baskets and he gave them to me as a gift. It actually might mean the things that you think you know, you don't actually know. But it might know the things I know might actually be true. You act like I've never looked into it or studied these things before. Like all of these things that you have to say are like fresh revelations that are getting dismissed out of hand. I've looked into this a lot. Like, I read things. I don't just watch Fox News. Those rattan baskets look like antiques. They practically are. This was back when I lived in. They're like 30 years old. What if the things you're is 30 years old an antique? What if things you're saying are ignorant and you think but they're not. I mean, this is not like a hypothetical discussion. Like, the things I saw with my own eyes as they were happening actually happened. Like, George Orwell is like looking at your comment and turning over in his grave. Yes, reality does not change because you don't want it to be real. There's not like alternative facts on this program. Hi, Mary. How you doing? My wife's name is Mary. It's absolutely about intelligence. Objective fact, it will all be overturned upon appeal in the highest court and Democratic judge, Democrat. That's not an objective fact. That's a highly partisan, ridiculous opinion. I was told that the Supreme Court was also going to overturn the E. Jean Carroll thing, and they didn't. I was told that the Supreme Court was going to strike down birthright citizenship, and they didn't. So, yeah, that's not an objective fact. That is a extremely uninformed opinion by a MAGA that doesn't even know what the laws were he was convicted of. Breaking news, ice cream eater, news at 11. All right, so now we're... Hey, Kevin. Oh, so he never actually ate the ice cream. Oh, his ice cream cone is something he actually did. Everything else was... So you're one of those people that believes that Joe Biden had a puppet presidency? So if he did all this, like, if he didn't, anyway. So basically, Joe Biden, Kevin seems to be one of those people that thinks that Joe Biden, everything that bad happened was Joe Biden did it, but everything the good that happened was like Joe Biden was a vegetable or whatever. And Donald Trump is like is sharp as a, sharp as a knife. And, Joe Biden was like, we should have 25th him. Actually, MAGA fits the clinical definition of a cult. Whoever the people who wanted to make it look like protesters. Whoever make what look like protesters? Are you talking about Minnesota? Or are you talking about January 6th? The protesters. It's specifically, I am referring to, I wish I could, it was something boys. not Proud Boys, but anyway, there's a right wing group that was literally trying to make the protests look bad, that set the precinct on fire, and they're in jail. Like, this is not a supposition. This is like they belong to that group and they are convicted of starting the fire. So I'm not just saying this offhand. The right wingers literally were responsible for burning down the precinct in Minneapolis. ICE, tell that to Renee. Well, okay, ICE, and actually, I think one of them, ICE did kill Renee Good. It was the Border Patrol or whatever that killed Preddy. There's the third guy. I don't know which. I don't know who killed him. I don't know which one it was. But you're just semantics. There's people that were killed by federal agents. I want you to slow cook for 10 minutes. Then when you can finally say something, I want to really see you show me your best meltdown. Bill Clinton. I don't know what Bill Clinton has to do with anything. Or pardon his son. I have no problems with him pardoning his son. And the funny thing is that the thing he pardoned him for was just overturned by the Supreme Court anyway. But Hunter Biden was convicted of a crime nobody else had ever been convicted of before, never been charged with before. It was literal selective prosecution. The special prosecutor was appointed by Trump. Joe Biden never ended it, which is what Donald Trump would have done. Anyway, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I like, in general principle, I don't think that people should go around pardoning their sons. But that doesn't mean that Donald Trump didn't pardon a drug cartel boss, and it doesn't mean that Donald Trump didn't pardon the Binance guy who laundered money for human traffickers and drug traffickers. Like, the problem with whataboutisms is they work both ways. You're not saying what about that because you think that you're saying the whataboutism to excuse what Trump has done. Someone is saying my thoughts out loud. Thanks, Kathy. You're not a serious person. Okay. Says the person who just said, what about Hunter Biden to justify pardoning a drug cartel? They tried to charge him and they were told no. No, they didn't try to charge him and were told no. They did charge him, and a grand jury, he had 84 indictments. Then Eileen Cannon tried to remove all the charges for one of the things. Like, I don't know what you mean by you not can I don't know what is going on here. I don't know if I'm the one saying Kathy's thoughts out loud or who you were trying to charge or what. Anyway, you cannot charge a candidate that is running for office, is what the courts and the DA said. No, that's not what happened. That's not at all what happened. But when he got indicted, then he announced that he was running for president. Saying you're running for president shouldn't be a get out of jail free card. I know how President Trump lives in your heads. He does not live in my head at all. I love how but he does live in my White House. All right. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Donald Trump is ruining the country that I love. What lives in my head 24/7 is the country that I love. And so if somebody is destroying it, that does not mean that they have taken up residence. It means they are a vandal. And yes, Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felonies. That's a fact. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual assault. That's a fact. Donald Trump was indicted for stealing government secrets and not turning over government documents. And Donald Trump was indicted for charges related to January 6th. That never went to trial for various reasons. But the case has not been dismissed. It's been set aside until he's done in office. He has not been acquitted or anything like that. And it's not like he didn't do these things. It's not like we don't know that there were pictures of government secrets in a bathroom in Mar-a-Lago. The facts in that case are still there. The way you cut and paste that, I'd say it lives in your head harder and harder. That's like these MAGAs that send money to Trump. They're all, he lives in your head rent free, and it's like you pay him for rent. Anyway, Kevin seems to have his tie on too tight. I'm going to let that stay there, and just so you can feel the stupidity echo from your own mouths. I think the tie's on too right, and it's tight, and it's cut off the circulation to his brain. Its cultists need to be deprogrammed. Please do let it resonate in that empty head of yours. Imagine thinking you're not the problem. You're literally coming to these kind of channels that you can't stand and crashing out like a toddler. Anybody here ever read Encyclopedia Brown, like when you were a kid? I always think of Bugs Meany and the Tigers, where Bugs Meany would always like do these mixed metaphors, like make like a tree and get out of here, and then the tigers would all laugh and like act like he had just delivered this zinger. That's what the MAGAs always remind me of. Like they're just wrong, and they say stupid things, but they run victory circles around an L like nobody else. Racists started the KKK, and actually, it's kind of a myth that the Democrats started the KKK, and it's kind of an irrelevant myth. But the KKK, there were Democrats involved in it, and like back in 1870 or whatever, but it has zero relevance to today. It's like the Democratic Party today is not like the party of the KKK. The party that the person that they were marching along with the Confederate flags for was not in support of the Democrats. It was in support of Donald Trump. And the party that right now is trying to jam through an illegal bill that has poll taxes is the Republican Party. And you took it over, and now your party runs it. Right next to the trafficking hub. Biden pooped in his bed again. Yeah, whatever. Donald Trump poops in his pants every single day. And I'm not making that up. Like, I am not just saying Donald Trump poops in his pants. If you go, Donald Trump has been pooping in his pants since The Apprentice. Donald Trump pooped in his pants during The Apprentice so much, they had a guy on staff they called the diaper guy that was responsible for changing Donald Trump's diapers. And he's a diaper. And you know how I know this? Because the producer of The Apprentice has a video talking all about it. So I don't know how you have insight into what happens in Joe Biden's bed. But somebody that actually worked with Donald Trump and knew the guy, paid the guy that pooped his diaper, that changed his diapers, knows that Donald Trump, apparently he like his whole, he snorted so much coke and did so much Adderall, it messed up his system. So he doesn't even know when he's pooping anymore. No, I have never watched Fox News, but I've seen plenty of clips of Jesse Waters saying stupid stuff and Janine Pirnero saying stupid stuff. I don't need to watch Fox News to know what's on Fox News. I don't watch Fox News because I know what's on it. And honestly, most of my news I don't get from watching. I get most of my news from reading. And I try and my best to go back to the original sources of things. No, if you believe what you're saying, then you are ignorant. No. Which is why you can't actually specify anything I have said that is wrong. This is another, MAGA just comes in. That's a lie. What? Like, I'll ask them, what's the lie? And they won't ever be able to say what is actually a lie. No, no, it wasn't oath. Oh. Hang on, I'm going to see if I can. Boogaloo Boys. That's it. It was the Boogaloo Boys that did it. The Boogaloo Boys were the ones that were responsible for burning down the Minneapolis precinct, and they did so literally to get people. They're like, if we can make this thing violent, then all the racists will blame it on the black people, and we can undermine the credibility of the BLM movement by setting this on fire. That was the strategy. That was the goal. And all the white supremacists that come on here and insist that they're not white supremacists, they jump all over it, and they're like, yeah, BLM. See, that you proved their point. They put the lure on the hook, and you were the fish that bit. I'm still trying to filter through the confusion of why the Clintons had to testify and talk about aliens and crap to these right-wing nut jobs, but they never interviewed Lutnick or anybody else. Am I the only one that, like, when I see Lutnick spelled that way, I like my brain has to like not pronounce it Nutlick? I like him and Peter Kegsbreath. Like, there are some people I have just come to know, and like Stephen Miller, I just like Vampire Shark. Like, that's some of these guys I cannot distinguish from who they actually are. Did you know that Stephen Miller's origin story is a vampire sharded? I mean, what was the point of making them testify if they were going to do it to both parties? Because they were, and it's not like, okay, Bill Clinton went on this kind of tour of Africa to like help children with AIDS, with some other celebrities and stuff, and Epstein let him use his plane and went with him. That was basically the extent of Bill Clinton's association with Epstein. And there's no evidence that he knew anything at all about what was going on with all the other stuff. Donald Trump was best friends with Jeff Epstein the entire time he had his criminal enterprise going. Or what was it? Somebody called it the the rapists are us or whatever. That whole thing, Donald Trump was his buddy. Donald Trump interacted with him on a regular basis. He had, I want to say it's like 23 phone numbers for Donald Trump. And then they had some kind of falling out. Donald Trump wants to pretend that he found out he was kind of creepy. Yeah, really? All of a sudden, after you've been hanging out with him for 20 years, you found out it was kind of creepy, like right before he got prosecuted. Donald Trump is a good president. Okay, what has he done as president that you think is good? Like what actual policy do you think is good? I mean, I guess you could say if you think that, like his, mass immigrations or mass deportations are good or whatever. But like, I've never heard anybody like really defend why they say that. Of course, you're being, I'll give you this, you're not going to the hyperbolic extent of saying he's the greatest president ever or something. No, you patted on 11. The Dem stuff had as why I bring. I don't even. That's not even a cogent sentence. No, you patted on 11. The Dem stuff had why I bring these things up. Okay, that's why I bring these things up. This might be a text. Anyway, I don't know what you're trying to say there. Severe TDS. Okay, yeah. Got the MAGA Tourette's going. TDS is MAGA Tourette's. That's all it is. When you start screaming TDS or butt Biden, reminds me of Charles Manson syndrome. Yes. Oh, we have to listen is one or two MAGA people, and then we know exactly what they're saying on this station. MAGA are not smart. They believe all of the Trump and Fox propaganda. It's like I say all the time, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 35,000 times, I must be a MAGA. They wouldn't. Oh, wow. Did I get caught up? Wow. Go Kelly. Or something happened. Did I? Yeah. Well, what do you know? They wouldn't report. Oh, Mitch McConnell. Is he still alive? So they apparently he's either brain dead or having like long involved conversations with the leadership in the Senate. So I'm not sure which it is. If you listen to the leadership in the, like John Thune and this other dude, or the number 2 guy in the Senate, they're saying that they had this like long this long deep conversation about the direction of the country and the SAVE Act. But if you listen to, there's also reports that like he's basically brain dead and being, kept alive by life support. If anybody could filibuster his own death, it would be Mitch McConnell. I think that's what's going on. Is he somehow figured out a way to filibuster dying? Did you know this is more than half of all the filibusters in the history of the United States came while Mitch McConnell was in office. Now, what makes that even better is that became true just during the years that Obama was president. There were more filibusters when the Republican Party was in the minority while Obama was president than there were in all of American history before that. Mitch McConnell, when they made that commitment to prevent Obama from being able to do anything, they tried their damnedest. They filibustered literally every single thing that they could. They filibustered everything, and they blocked his. When they got the majority, they blocked his appointment. They were Mitch McConnell. I mean, there was one bill that Mitch McConnell wrote, and it was a bipartisan bill. And then it looked like it was going to go through, but Mitch McConnell was worried that Barack Obama was going to get credit for it. So he filibustered his own bill to block his own bill because that's how partisan he was. So Brett says, yeah, he's been brain dead for years, for decades. Mitch reminds me of a turtle for some reason. He does. It's like that's kind of the famous thing. He looks like a turtle, right? So, any Hoosers. I think so we're all caught up on the comments. And anyway, wonder what happened to Anthony. Did Anthony get... Did Anthony move on, or did Brett shove him out the door? Anyway, so my challenge to the magas is, anytime you want to leave a comment, go ahead. I'm still looking for a reason that you guys think that Donald Trump is the greatest president ever. Name one thing he did that is better than freeing the slaves. All right, so that's it. I'm out. Thanks, Brett, for your monitoring. And did he move on? Good. Guess he didn't get the reaction he was looking for. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a pleasant day. What's left of it, I'll talk to you tomorrow. What? Maybe he will. Maybe he will. All right, see you guys.